Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So today we're going to go over a couple banded mobilizations for the shoulder, and we're going to break it down movement by movement. All right, so just look at the upper body and think about some of the movements that we would program. You got horizontal pushing, and then on the other direction we got a row or horizontal pulling. All right, we got vertical pressing, and then on the way down we would have a vertical pull motion. All right, so those two motions, when we take the resistance out of them, are pretty much the exact same thing. All right, and then we're going to look at kind of if we're doing some snatches or cleans, we got vertical pulling straight up. All right, we want to be able to have this shoulder internal rotation and be able to keep that close to the body, and then that can easily turn into, if we bring the elbows back, we're in the bottom of a dip, and then just from more of a functional standpoint, I can turn that into hand behind back. All right, which is another form of internal rotation with extension and adding a little bit of adduction. All right, and then if we're going and we pause in this overhead position after we're either starting in our pull-up position or finishing in our press position, we can look at all the movements here, and we can add a little bit of some external rotation and some abduction to it just by putting the hands behind the head, which again is another functional position to just make sure we have this ability to open up through there. All right, and we can do this all in a quick sequence. So I would bias the movement that you're going to do. So let's look first at, say we're programming some push-ups or some rows into the workout. You're going to get into this position. You want to make sure that you're suspended through the band. So I double the band up so it feels very secure here, and my shoulder is being pulled into the socket. All right. It's helpful to put the leg in which the band is on. All right, so if the band is on my right shoulder, my leg is back, just to open that whole side, and then I got to brace through the abs so I'm not fooling myself and arching my back instead of actually moving from the shoulder. So I'm braced through here. I can keep my other hand there to make sure that I'm actually doing what I'm intending to do. And then I'm just going to actually pull the hand, and it's important that you try to touch your shoulder. All right, so you don't miss any range of motion, and then you're going to push out and pull. Push out and pull. You can do it on both sides. All right, and do about 10, 20 of those, all right, depending on how much time you have. All right, if I want to do pressing and vertical pulling, so if I'm pressing overhead, I want to turn my thumb back, and then I'm pulling down, trying to touch my fingers to my shoulder, try to keep my elbow in. And I can do about 10 of those, making sure that I'm staying braced through here. All right, so if I want to look at some movements into a dip position, I can get into that bottom of a dip, and then I can intensify that by pulling my hand behind my back and trying to pull the elbow to the middle of the spine, all right, which makes sure that the shoulder stays into the socket. And then I can combine movements. I can go overhead, right into this kind of internal rotation. If I'm really trying to work the dip, I'll just try to get into this bottom of the dip position as much as I can, and I can even bring my torso forward as if I was catching into a dip. All right, so if I'm doing a movement in which I'm going to have to pull a bar up my body, I want to slide the thumb up, get up as high as I can, and then I can go into a front rack, or I can go into an overhead, and then I can come back down. All right, so the idea is do about 10 to 20 in each movement. Be careful that your arm may go a little bit numb hanging out there too long. So I was showing you each movement. Normally I would just do one movement at a time, or whatever movement I want to program the most, and then I would switch to the other side. All right, so if you're new to banded mobilizations, use a smaller band, but just know that if you don't have as much resistance on the band, it's not going to suspend you quite as much, so you just might have to be a little bit more upright. You can single the band, however, again, it's not going to support you quite as much, and you might not get as much out of the mobilization. So I actually find doubling up the band to be a little bit safer, and I use it for my physical therapy patients. Even if they're new to it, I just don't have them go as deep into the motion, and just have them do small motions, whatever they're comfortable with. I tend to get a good report from people who even have shoulder pain, just because it makes them have to keep their shoulder in a position that they have trouble keeping it in, and it makes them feel like they have a lot more range of motion after they're done. All right, so that's a really simple way to work all planes of motion of your shoulder and really bias it towards the movements that you're about to do for your workout. If you have any questions, contact me at movementprofessional.com. See you next time.